All right, folks, some of y'all might remember this. We're going to play it for you just the same.
For 50 days, Garrett Foster and his fiancee Whitney Mitchell took part in Austin protests that were overwhelmingly peaceful. Till Saturday night.
I called him, and all I could hear was Whitney screaming.
His mother, Sheila Foster, was home here in North Texas.
It was probably 2 minutes later, Whitney's mom called me.
Garrett Foster was shot several times, and the 28-year-old died at the hospital.
I threw the phone down and I collapsed. Thank God my sister had just come here and sat down on the ground with me, and we just cried.
Police say a car drove towards the protest. Foster had a gun and walked towards it, but never fired. The man driving shot and drove off. A person in the crowd fired back.
He died standing up for something that he believed in, and he died protecting the woman that he loved more than anything else on this planet.
Foster is from Plano. Mitchell is from Richardson.
They've been together since they were 17.
Which one?
And after going into septic shock at 19, she had to have her limbs amputated.
How am I gonna live my life?
WFAA shared her inspirational story of becoming a costume designer back in 2011.
And I've kind of found my identity.
Foster served in the Air Force before coming home to care for Mitchell, helping with everything from brushing her teeth to doing her hair and feeding her.
They loved each other on a level that I don't think most people are even capable of.
Love is why Foster was protesting Saturday.
I see things on Facebook and I'm not commenting on any of it because I can't. But I see people trying to paint him as a bad person, and I want everybody to know how good he was.
His family now holds on to memories, wishing they could hold him.
I just want to hug him again, and I'll never be able to now.
Police arrested and later released both the man who killed Foster and the protester who shot back. And if you're wondering how you can help this family, they did have a GoFundMe page set up, but they shut it down because they have already passed their $100,000 goal.
All right, so I know a little bit about it. This was posted. This is Justice for Garrett Foster. Somebody sent this link to me, and it says, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." I quote something that's similar, actually. Now, Garrett, let's go to this site, Justice for Garrett Foster. When I was doing the GoFundMe thing, there was a lot of people that wanted to help me. But because I didn't have one of my own, other people were setting them up. I never saw a penny. People thought I got all this free money. Free money, free money. Well, I didn't. Matter of fact, I got everything taken away from me. Except my life. This man even lost that. Well, let's go down here a little bit. There's quite a few of these. Here's one. Do you know what my son was doing the night he was murdered? He was practicing his First Amendment right and his Second Amendment right. And for that, so many people believe he deserved to be murdered. So many of you didn't agree with what he was marching against. So what happened to him was okay with you, right? Isn't that what so many of us have been brainwashed to believe? If they don't agree with me, they're the enemy. If I don't like what they're saying, they're wrong. She typed, "My son was so right. If the people in power will do it to anyone, it's just a matter of time before they get to you." Garrett knew this. It wasn't just about Black Lives Mattering, and it wasn't just about police brutality and systemic racism in Austin and Minneapolis. It was about protecting precious freedom and equality for everyone. It was about the bigger picture. Where have we heard this stuff before? Oh yeah, from me. And a lot of others too. It says, "There will come a day, soon I'm afraid, when we are all impacted by the government abuse of power." We're already all impacted. Anybody with a child has to be afraid of the government. It says, and on that day, I promise you, you're going to wish there were more people like my son in this country. He was willing to stand up and say, no, not on my watch. God, I miss him. And I know he would have had a field day with what's happening now. He didn't have a complacent bone in his body, and he would have gladly carried the liberty torch into this battle. Here he is. Let's look at these pictures of this man. There he is with his wife. Another one with her. Them having fun. They're young. That's after she had all 4 of her limbs amputated, and he was still with her. What kind of a man does that? I want you to look at his wife. Look at him. Yeah, so what? So he's white. Does that mean he can't stand up for people who aren't? He gave up his life. His life. What do you do? Now there's something important I want to read here for you. Something that was written by his mother, and I got to find it. I'm hoping to get her side of the story. I think it's important. Let's scroll down a little bit. Those who tried to bury you didn't know you were a seed. I like that. Here's some pictures of him. Silence is violence. And that's what I told all of my friends through all of this. Your complacency is wrong. You're not the good guy if you're doing nothing. This man right here is a good guy. Let's see. Here it is. It says, my son's life doesn't matter. The Austin police don't care about him because he was protesting police brutality. What do you know? That's what I do. Publicly victim blaming him less than 48 hours after he was murdered. You know, I was victim blamed well before Natalie Bollinger was ever killed. And I still take it. There's a lot of things that this lady talks about that I definitely know from firsthand experience. BLM supporters don't care about him because he was white, even though he fought so hard for black lives. Can you imagine that? It says the love of his life for the past 10 years is a black woman, and he saw things that are unacceptable. Republicans don't care about him because he was protesting. Democrats don't care about him because he was open carrying. Who then is on Garrett's side? If I have to fight this fight alone, I will. But if this had happened to anyone else, my son would have demanded justice. He spent the last 50 days of his life demanding justice for others, and now he's forgotten and nobody cares. And I'm not okay with that. Garrett's life mattered. It still matters. You know, I said something similar about Natalie, about her life and how it still matters. And it still does. And so does mine. So does Garrett's. So do so many others. Now this lady, she gave me permission to tell her son's story up here. I'm hoping that she'll actually tell the story herself. She knows more than I do. She understands more than I do. She can tell the fact from the fiction as far as the news goes. She's also been through a lot. I want you to look at her perspective, and I want you to understand that I feel her perspective. I feel it. From first-hand experiences of my own, I am able to understand a lot of the things that she is typing about. His life does matter. And I have spoken up about heroes, a lot of heroes of the BLM movement who are white. In one of those protests, the very front row of protesters was almost 100 white women. They figured, well, the cops might shoot a bunch of black people even if they're unarmed. But who's going to shoot through a bunch of unarmed white women? Garrett's not a woman, he's a man. And we get to hear how horrible men are, how everything in life is all men's fault. But look at this man here, being portrayed as a villain for being the good guy. How is that right? I really hope that his mother will tell her story. I'm sure she has. I'd like to record it, though. I'd like to put it up on my YouTube channel for everyone. See, we either work together or we get nothing. Garrett understood that. And although there's many of us who support BLM who end up getting a lot of flack because we're white, even from BLM members, told we can't possibly understand, that we don't know hardship because of the color of our skin. Well, that kind of hatred from the black community, and especially BLM supporters, is counterproductive, but it doesn't stop me from fighting for black people's rights. But it's not just equality for black people I'm after. If it's just for black people, it's not equality. It has to be for all of us. If they can do it to black people, they can do it to you. If they can do it to the homeless, they can do it to you. If they can do it to women, they can do it to you. Garrett Foster's killer got away with it. He is getting away with it. Why? Because he stuck up for something that is unpopular among the ruling class. We the people is supposed to mean we the people, but it doesn't, does it? It means they the rich and us the property. You think you have rights, and then they murder you for them. And pretend like you're the bad guy for exercising them. You exercise your First Amendment right like I tried to do. I exercised my First Amendment right to speak out about my abuse and my abusers before Natalie was ever killed. And I was villainized for it. And after Natalie was killed, people did everything they could to make sure that I couldn't even speak out on my own Facebook. Thousands of people got involved in threatening and harassing me and trying to destroy everything on my Facebook, including my Facebook account itself. But no matter how much they tried to shut me up, I never stopped speaking up. This right here is the fight, people. This right here is Black Lives Matters. That's right, this young white man who is taking care of a wife who couldn't brush her own teeth. And he is painted as the villain. This is not okay. I care about the life of Garrett Foster. Do you? Garrett Foster is one of the heroes of BLM, regardless of his skin color. He is one of the victims in our fight for equality. Ours. All Americans should be on this. This is our Constitution being flushed. Please, someone speak up about this. Make it more public. Push push this. Show that it's not just black people fighting for these rights, it's all of us. What did Garrett Foster stand to gain from fighting for black rights and for black lives? Equality is what he stood to gain. He got killed for it, so I guess that makes him almost equal to homeless people. He got blamed for being victimized, so that makes him equal with homeless people. Homeless people are the most victimized people in the country. And as you guys have seen time and again, the homeless people that I know have been fighting for all of our rights for many years. Many of them are very, very similar in nature to Garrett Foster. Then again, Garrett Foster was not as big of a coward as most of the homeless. Also, the homeless are probably the most unarmed populace as far as firearms go in the country. They're the least likely to have one. At least Garrett Foster was allowed his Second Amendment right. And regardless of that, he gets blamed as if he chose for a man to murder him. This man didn't just shoot Garrett Foster, he also shot into the crowd. The man was trying to scare people. He was trying to intimidate people. Garrett Foster lost his life for being the good guy. I want you to remember that. I want you to write that down.